In California, Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom has become an outspoken advocate of Prop 64, even though he admits he doesn't actually like the drug.
I'm a parent. I've got 4 kids. I don't like the drug. I don't want to see it. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to go to a park or playground. I don't want to see it advertised. I don't want to see those edibles targeting my kids any more than you do. And I want.
I'm sorry to say that this board voted to endorse, 11 to 10, voted to endorse a Jim Crow law without really reading it, because the law had only been, it wasn't dry. So anyway, I want to say that cannabis is treated like an intoxicant, and it's really a euphoric, like lychee mushrooms, and there's no cumulative effect. So that's one thing. We're being treated, and the alcohol lobby is behind this. You know, of course, they're losing money to cannabis, so they want a piece of it. That's what Prop 64 is about. Prop 64 mentions non-medical many times, even though we know that all uses, even medicinal or therapeutic. So Prop 64 was favored by Southern Spirit Wine and Spirit Lobby, George Soros, Monsanto, and a simple majority vote. They say that it would preserve Prop 215, but that's not true. A simple majority vote in Sacramento can overturn any portion of so-called legalization, which is fake legalization. I'd like you to enter a resolution to revisit and revote this, because you have new members now. Thanks.
Sure, I'm safe. Let's look out for each other, you know. These are strange times, strange days, right? So we got to know where each other are. And if we know we do this every last Wednesday at 4:20 and you don't see somebody who's usually here, make sure they're all right, you know. So it's good to start on that note, and it's good to see a lot of people feeling all right. Just a few updates of what we've been doing and what we've been up to. Here, let me get this. Okay, there we go. So Tuesdays and now Wednesdays at 5 o'clock, we're going to be at Jane Kim's new headquarters, which is 37 Grove Street. So it's like, hey, it's like right near City Hall. They always have coffee, sometimes bagels, you know, sometimes there's something to nosh on. But real briefly, why am I really getting behind Jane Kim? Because a lot of really nasty corporations are really getting behind Scott Wiener.
Yep.
And, you know, I've never been a big fan of him to begin with.
No.
But this is really serious stuff.
Yep.
And it's really going to benefit, you know, I don't ask anybody to get involved in any type of political thing that's not going to directly benefit disabled patients. And it will directly benefit us to secure Jane Kim in the state Senate seat. Because then we're going to have a real voice. Because I don't know if you noticed, their task force has no independent patient voice. You know,
Nope.
Scott Wiener's task force on cannabis is really terrible. And I wrote a letter recently, if you're on my Facebook page, you probably saw it, about him doing some illegal lobbying for Prop64, which is fake legalization. And here's the first reason why we're calling it fake legalization. If you can still go to jail for cannabis, is that where we want to be at?
No way.
Shameful. I want to tell you guys about what happened in the background because everybody deserves to know. There were several different community ballots being filed. Ours was in the top 3, right? We had CCHI, which is the Jack Herrera initiative, which has been going strong for, gosh, I don't know, like 15, 20 years. They've really been trying to get that taken care of. We got good friends on that team too. And then we had the MCLR, which several of us here were actually proponents of. I was a proponent, Stephen Crane, Denise Story, John Martinelli. There was a lot of folks that were involved in that. And what was unique about that is it was written open source, so anybody online could chime in and be a part of writing that policy. Well, so you have all these community ballots being turned in at the state capitol, right? And all you got to do is pay $200 and you turn in, and then the government looks over and sees if it's legally applicable, not in any judgmental way, just does the law make sense. And then, you know, you have to go through now a public comment period, which is awesome, I think. And then you have to be able to get yourself enough signatures to get on the state ballot for voting. Well, while all these community ballots were turned in, how many of the community ballots do you think had jail for cannabis? Yeah, the big fucking 0. Nobody else had the fucking audacity to consider putting somebody in behind bars for cannabis except for Drug Policy Alliance and Sean Parker and Eric Pearson and Scott Wiener and Gavin Newsom are the only people that thought to still make money out of making people human captives over a non-violent issue.
Yeah.
So I want everybody to really, really understand that no other community team had any jail time associated. Did they have permitting structures? Yes. Did they have rules and regulations to organize a billion-dollar market? Really, it already is. Yeah, of course there were rules and regulations, but nobody else considered putting somebody behind bars. So now we have Prop64, which has jail time. And it really targets urban poor people, and I'll tell you why. There's one key thing. So when we think of open container laws, we think of something like, okay, a 40-ouncer with a cap off and you're walking down the street. That's a violation, right? That's an open container. They're applying that now to cannabis. So what on earth is an open container of cannabis? It's a reason for a cop to start a conversation with you regardless. And so when you're working on drug policy reform like I do, what we want to do in the current atmosphere in America is give cops zero excuse to interact with people, actually. We want to protect people from law enforcement interactions, people who are not doing anything violent. This law would increase interaction with law enforcement because it, number one, outlaws public smoking of cannabis, so that's what we're doing right now, so they'd have every reason right now to come over and talk to us. And then the open container law is just crazy because anything, like, for example, now, currently, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm about to just do. Oh, I'm sorry, this is an open container. If there's no legal definition of what an open container is, the whole arena of how police officers can come into your life and say, what's this, changes with this law. And yet they're out there saying that it's like some great liberator, right? It's not. It has a lot of sneaky stuff in it. A lot of sneaky stuff in it. And see, the scary thing is, a lot of people are just going to vote for it because they see cannabis and legalization, and their thought process stops right there. So we are going to be the only people that are going to be talking to people about looking a little bit further into what this law actually does. And so October 21st, AxisOfLove patient advocacy team is going to be holding a town hall to educate people about what is this law really about.
Yep.
What day is it?
Yep.
October 21st.
Yep.
And then next month, the last Wednesday of the month, we're actually going to do an action directly after this picnic. We're going to go to the Democratic Party Central meeting, so the meeting of the Democrats of our county and city, and they have representatives from our state positions too, and you know, basically it's their inter-party discussion, and we're going to head over there, and we're going to really strongly let them know that we don't support Prop 64. Tonight, I'm going to simply go over there and ask for it to be put onto the agenda again, because what happened last time is that AxisOfLove mobilized with 4 hours warning and got before the Democratic Party and told them that 64 was up to no good. We lost by 1 vote. So then that resolution went up to the state party, and the state party went in support of it. And the reason the state party is going in support of it is because they're politicians, and Sean Parker and certain people that want to monopolize cannabis give them money. So, you know, now we're going to say, hey, we lost by 1 vote, and there's a whole new seating in. Let's relook at this issue. And that's what I'm going to be doing later tonight, is asking the Democrats to relook at this issue. And then next month, we're all going to head over there and demand that, you know, they take another look at this. And I bet there's a lot of people here that have been registered Democrats their whole life. So you have every right to chime into their conversation next month, you know? Don't let them have a conversation amongst themselves, please. Thank you guys for letting me get on my soapbox and let me tell you what I've been working on.
Trey, Patricia DeFont, Peter Gayota, Frank Martin Del Campo, and Shona.
So, since when did we how long have we been able to really trust Monsanto, Big Pharma, and the private prison industry? You know, and that they're behind Prop 64, the proposition that is meth lab politics that will disallow solar grows, outdoor grows, and 7 plants will get you a jail term. And there's a 3 strikes law that will get you 4 years in jail. Just if you get busted 3 times with 30 grams, which is just over an ounce, you have a chance of going to jail for 4 years. And that includes kids. So I want to thank everybody who didn't vote for that. We need sanctuary city policy, even though Scott Wiener's task force thinks that the Prop 64 is going to pass. They're acting like it's already a done deal, when actually we really need to have a sanctuary city against this Prop 64 that they think is going to pass. And somebody's trying to build their career on it too, and it's really it's mean-spirited law. It's the worst thing I ever saw in my life. You know, it's enough to make me want to move to Costa Rica. Bye.
I'm Paul Warner. I'm the executive director of AxisOfLove. We've been around for 15 years, and we have a lot of allies in the cannabis community. So I'm here tonight to kind of ask the exact opposite of a lot of what has been asked, and I'm actually asking you to relook at a vote. When we were here last time discussing Prop 64, it was voted in favor by 1 vote, and everybody seemed very confused as to which way they were going to vote. And this is not supported and not endorsed by California NORML, the Growers Associations, and many patient associations. So my 3 asks would be to revisit this, to look at doing an educational forum, and to look into actually protecting the compassionate providers of San Francisco as our city has directed by law. Thank you.
Yay.
We have Prop 64 on, and it's caused a lot of concern regarding medical cannabis and the medical growers. And some of the concerns is when you put new legislation in, if it passes, there could be unintended consequences. And San Francisco is a sanctuary city for medical cannabis and for growers, and so I'd like to put together a resolution to make sure we actually protect the medical cannabis in San Francisco as well as the growers, and put some teeth into the sanctuary part of it. So I'm gonna be looking into that and bringing something forward, but I think we need to make sure there is no unintended consequences that's going to affect the sanctuary city here that we have for medical cannabis. And whether you like 64 or not, we just need to protect what's already there for medical patients and for the citizens of San Francisco.
Thank you. Member Mars.
Okay, I would just like to thank you very much, Ms. Nash.
Support the comments by Member De Jesus, and if there will be a resolution that will be coming forth, it seems like we should invite the medical cannabis community as well and the clubs that would be affected in order to invite people to weigh in during the crafting of the resolution, but also to be able to give information and speak from their points of views at the next meeting. I think that'd be a great opportunity for us to outreach to the community.
good to be back home. I'm the former chair of the Harvey Milk Cannabis Caucus and worked to create the David Campos task force, which actually had some equity seats for low-income patients. This is backed and really choreographed by one elite group, and that causes a lot of problems when it comes to patient needs. Basically, when we look at affordability, that's the first issue. Prop 15 promised affordability and promised a fair regulatory system. And when we look at affordability, not just myself, a poverty scholar, saying that the price is going to triple. We have Steve D'Angelo, a Fortune, magazine millionaire, saying that with the combination of MRSA, which is the new state law that passed, and this, and they're a double-headed monster. They work together. They're in the same think tank. And if both a millionaire and a poverty scholar are saying that the price will triple, we have a huge issue. And so I'm here to ask the club to slow this down. Let's actually get some real education, because in the cannabis community, we call this, when it first came out, it was called UMA, and we call this the UMA deception. I want to just ask real quickly, does anybody here support jail time for cannabis use?
No.
Okay, this has 6 months jail time for youth between 18 and 21 who cannot afford to pay a fee. That is straight up evil. That is targeting urban youth, and we're going to see a lot of targeting of urban youth with this bill through no smoking in public, open containers. We don't even really legally know what an open container is going to mean for us. And this doesn't happen in your closed gate, affluent, mostly Caucasian cannabis communities. The police aren't going to be coming in and saying, hey, is that an open container? It doesn't matter. For every door it opens, it shuts 3 more. It's creating new crimes, 3 new felonies, and it basically, the way it was created really needs to be looked at too. 17 community groups came forward with community ballots, and were basically, didn't get on the ballot, were pushed aside for the backers of this, which include Gavin Newsom. Scott Wiener is doing a huge amount of promotion and basically trying to run a campaign on our backs. It's really scary, actually. It's quite terrifying. As far as the help for nonprofits, well, I'm a radical, right? I came to the club and I got us to not support Gavin Newsom and support Quentin Mackey. And what this actually does is create a pet project slush fund for whom they have been grooming for governor, which is Gavin Newsom. Through DPA, they've been grooming him for years. And I'm really scared of that, because we need the programs that actually benefit the patients to stay in place. And not only do we need that, we need our small business and farms. And a lot of the opposition is coming from within the community. The largest growers organization will not come out in support of this, has remained neutral. The Small Farmers Union has joined the law enforcement in opposition. So there's a lot of opposition within the community. Nearly every person that was involved in Prop 215 is opposing this. So I really encourage you today to either vote no or slow it down so that we can actually have an informed discussion. A lot of progressive window dressing in this and a lot of tricks.
Okay, so there's time for 2 quick questions. Denise?
Okay, so outdoor grows. We already talked about that, but what about Monsanto? Is money coming from Monsanto? And they want to privatize cannabis and big pharma?
Well, we have like a few different things going on that level in California. You have this thing called Common Vision, which is buying up all the small farms. Is it directly related to Monsanto? Well, we have George Soros at the end of all of this, right? And he is connected to Monsanto. When they came through with Prop 19, a lot of folks did a discovery around the Prop 19 folks and their connection with Monsanto and et cetera. And don't get me wrong, I love Mickey, I love Chris. They threw the people out here that the rest of the community loves the most to kind of contradict us. But there's a huge, huge, huge risk at passing this with our small farmers and our small businesses with a double-headed monster.
All right. One more question. And I want to prioritize actual members who are qualified voters of the club. This is not an opportunity for rebuttal, sorry. Kevin.
Simple question. In what ways is this similar or dissimilar to the Colorado legalization of marijuana?
I think it's a lot of the same players.
Okay.
One way it's very dissimilar is that the funding is not going to go to our schools. That is one thing that the Colorado voters did to kind of get it through, because your average voter is like, okay, it's going to go to the schools. A majority of the taxes from this are actually, at the end of the day, going to end up with law enforcement as an impacted community, and I refuse to see law enforcement as a community and certainly as impacted. Any other questions?
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Yay! I love you guys.
And we have one more measure to take up, and this actually pertains to something that is actually pretty confusing on your ballot, after which I just want to give a heads up that we're going to go into closed session deliberations after this, and that is only qualified members who are qualified to vote in our